Hey friend, welcome back to the Clarity to CEO podcast. I'm your host, Philippa, and this episode's going to be a little different. I've been sharing visibility strategies all month, how to repurpose content, build habits, measure results. But today, I want to step back and share what happened during a season when my own visibility hit a wall. The content slowed down, the engagement dipped, and I started questioning if I was even being seen. Because let's be real, even when we know the strategy, life can still life. Business evolves, energy shifts, family matters happen, and sometimes we hit a stretch where showing up feels harder than usual. I'm going to share what led to that drought, how I worked through it, and what I now do differently as a result. If you're in that place or worried that you'll end up there, this one's for you. And before we dive in, a quick reminder that if you want help creating a sustainable visibility plan that feels good, not just effective, I host a free live session every month called the Strategic Marketing Canvas Workshop. This is where I guide you through creating a clear 90-day marketing strategy based on your business capacity, your marketing goals, and message. If that sounds like something you need right now, grab your free pass in the link in the show notes. I'd love to help you map this out. So now let's talk visibility when it doesn't go as planned. So this is my lessons from my visibility drought. So let me take you back. I just wrapped up a huge client project, launched new offers, and I felt like I'd finally hit my groove with consistent content. And then crickets. The content slowed. I skipped a few posts, and then a few more, and engagement tanked. And then that familiar voice crept in about people aren't paying attention. Maybe I've said too much. Maybe it doesn't matter anymore. Maybe I haven't said enough. Maybe I wasn't saying the right things. Just all these questions kept going through my mind about what I could have done wrong. And here's what I learned walking through that visibility drought. Visibility without capacity is a setup for burnout. So what I realized is that I had overloaded my plate. I was visible, but I wasn't sustainable. I was showing up, but I wasn't building systems to support the visibility long term. That makes sense. So I wasn't able to keep up with the visibility behind the scenes, administratively and just mentally, and I was just burned out. Visibility has to be built with capacity in mind, and that's your capacity, not just the capacity of the business, but your capacity, especially as a solopreneur, doing all the things. And that is why in the Canvas workshop, we focus on your pace, your goals, not just some generic content calendar. The next thing I learned that is being quiet doesn't mean that you're failing. There's a difference between silence from burnout and intentional rest. In that quiet season, I revisited my brand voice. I refined my messaging and I reconnected to what I actually wanted to be known for. All of those things are CEO level things that I needed to work on that helped me get to another level of my business, helped me improve the services I was offering, and create messaging that actually I feel like is connecting way better with my audience than it ever has. It was uncomfortable in the process. It was a long time, but it was so necessary. Growth often happens behind the scenes. It can often be messy, but you're still making progress even when it's quiet on the outside. The next lesson I learned is that consistency looks different in every season. We love to throw around the word consistent, but here's what I've learned. Consistency isn't daily, it's disciplined. It's okay to adapt your visibility rhythm to the season that you're in. What matters is that your message stays aligned, even if the pace that you're at changes. I've thankfully have been able to maintain, even through my visibility drought, I've maintained my podcast rhythm of every week. I mentioned last podcast about repurposing. I wasn't as strong in my repurposing. I wasn't as strong in my messaging. So my visibility in that sense wasn't as strong. And so I was okay with it though, because I knew I was working behind the scenes on something stronger. And so my visibility rhythm in that season had changed, but my core message though was still aligned. I was still consistent with who my business represents or what I represent, my core of my business. But my pace changed and the level of visibility changed. But I could adjust that consistency in how I showed up with intention and with a purpose. So for me, that looked like batching podcast episodes. That's what I had to do, simply recording a lot of podcasts at one time so I can just get it done, simplifying my social strategy, putting energy into collaborations over consistent content, like different things I had to do to make it through that time. Be consistent with your conviction, not just your schedule. So take a look at what's really important here. What's the most important value for you as a CEO and for your business, not just a plan that you made for yourself of what you thought was important for your business at the time when it came to your content strategy. And then the fourth lesson I learned is that you don't have to be loud to be seen. My biggest takeaway, that's actually my biggest one, is I thought my visibility drought meant no one was paying attention. But when I came back, people were still there. People were still watching and they still remember what I stood for. I didn't disappear like I thought, because what matters more than frequency is the clarity. Clarity builds trust, and trust keeps your audience warm even when it gets a little quiet. And so my core audience knew where I was, and they knew they were consistent with the few messages I was putting out there in my podcast. They still knew that core value of what I offer and what I had to share. And so I wasn't as invisible as I thought, which is really good to know and hear and feel. So it is possible to take that step back, find that new rhythm, but still be present and still be heard and get your message across when you have a clear strategy in mind. And so if you're in a visibility drought or you're worried about hitting one, please know this: you're not broken, you're not lazy, and you're not losing your momentum. You're learning right now how to be a leader who knows how to rest, when to pivot, and how to show up with strategy, not just stress. And when you're ready to step back in, not with panic, but with a plan, I'll be right there cheering you on. Before you go, don't forget to grab your free pass to the next Strategic Marketing Canvas workshop. The link, of course, is in the show notes, and I'd love to see you there. Next month, we're kicking off a new series called Defining and Clarifying Your Audience. It's all about tightening up your ideal client, how to speak to your client's pain points. When your audience evolves, how do you adapt with it, and creating some offers that actually serve your audience where they are. You don't want to miss it. It's really going to help you understand and connect with your audience on such a deeper level. Right? So until then, give yourself some grace, keep showing up, and remember, you're building something powerful even on the quiet days.